Okay, so the title of the webinar, just going back there, leveraging change management in your sustainability plans. So today our focus is primarily on change management and change management with respects to project management planning and sustainability planning. So after completing this webinar, just to kind of recap, if you read this a little while ago, after completing this webinar, you will be able to incorporate change management into your sustainability project plans, focusing on stakeholder management, tools and techniques to encourage high levels of engagement for project managers and managers alike. The three key areas that I want to focus on today are: one, incorporating the community into your stakeholder plans. Now, although that sounds easy, one of the things that's required for sustainability management is often a redefinition or a redefining of what we mean by stakeholder and what we mean by the community of stakeholders. And as we redefine that, we need to consider how we're going to engage different stakeholders than what we're used to engaging within typical project management. So we'll take a look at that and what I mean by that. The second thing is applying readiness for change assessment tools. So in that sense, we're going to look at how to assess whether our organization is ready for the change that will be incurred from the project we're looking at, the initiative we're moving forward with, and some general ideas and best practices around that. And thirdly, utilizing change management to make your projects more sustainable ultimately. Change management is a discipline unto itself, and it's something that we can definitely leverage within the world of project management and sustainability management. So let's get started. The area I want to look at first is redefining community. So let's start off with what is community. And written on the screen there, it's necessary to define what community means for your project. What constitutes community? What brings people together on a common platform that's important for us to assess within our projects? So some key variables to look at. Communities are individuals linked by, for one, common issues, people that are concerned about the same issues that we're concerned about within our initiatives or our projects. So who are those people and how do we get them engaged and involved in our project? Secondly, people are brought together by a common identity. So shared beliefs, shared values, shared experiences. Again, we may have people that have a common identity across the organization, internally and externally, that need to be involved and engaged in our projects moving forward. Thirdly, interaction. People are linked by a set of social relationships, for one, but not just social relationships, social groups. And one of the things that we've seen change dramatically over the last 3 to 5 years is the application of social media tools in the public world and overlapping into every organization around the planet. Social media tools have done many things, but one thing that they've done that has impacted and will continue to impact all of our projects is enable people to get together, enable people to share their ideas, enable people to engage in initiatives in ways that they could never have before. And as a result, when people find out about our projects, they can get together and they can promote our projects, they can get together to fight against our projects, they can work against products that our companies are developing, they can work against government policies that we're trying to launch. So we have to be aware of who those social groups are and engage them proactively rather than reactively. Another common thread here is geography. We are located in disparate groups around the planet, but we're often connected in different ways. So we could be connected geographically, we may be connected through our social media tools across the planet with the infrastructure that we've created as well. So let's continue down this thread. Now, the common definition that most of us are used to, I'm sure, within project management for stakeholders, is that a stakeholder on our project is anyone and everyone that's impacted positively or negatively by our initiative or by our project. But I'd like to expand that and consider that community, considering that community would be the aggregate of stakeholders, internally or externally to our project could include neighborhoods around our organizations. It could include community development groups, environmental organizations, development organizations, citizen associations, and non-government organizations around the planet. As a result, this forces us to expand our thinking on the typical group that we would involve or engage with in our project. So in the past, we may have had some key stakeholders, maybe a champion for the project. We have people that are in charge of funding. We have people that are functional managers and different leaders, and some people from the board perhaps, or an oversight committee that are actively engaged in our project. And outside of that, we may not have involved many other individuals in the planning, approval process, and continual management of the project until it's closed out. But these days, from a sustainability aspect, we are often being forced to reassess who should be included in and who should be engaged within the pre-planning, planning, execution, and implementation of any project that we're involved in. So we should consider expanding our definitions. So going beyond that then, what are we actually going to do to engage these communities? Now, I'd like to look at 4 things in particular. The first being getting to know your community. So who are these community groups that need to be engaged in some way, shape, or form? And they could be engaged in many different ways. So they could be simply engaged in, we're going to send information out to them. They could be engaged in the sense that we need them directly involved in planning. They could simply be, or they may be people within our organization that we need to send reports to. But nonetheless, we need to look at who are these community groups, learn as much as possible about the key characteristics and culture of these different community groups and how they operate, and identify the stakeholders within those groups, their issues, expectations, needs, demands, perspectives, beliefs, all of the above. We should really do a thorough job at profiling these different stakeholders and community groups that aggregate our stakeholders and determine who needs to be involved in our project in some way, shape, or form. Secondly, once we've done that, we've kind of mapped them all out. The next common thing that we often do anyways is to decide how we're going to interact with these stakeholders. So selecting an engagement strategy. To do this, we would first need to prioritize the stakeholders we're dealing with. Who are they? What importance do they have to the project? And these different stakeholders and community groups may have a variety of importance to the project for reasons like they may have direct authority over the project, but they may also be, for example, an external, say a social organization that exists out in the community that simply needs to be actively engaged because in the past we haven't engaged them and we have frustrated the community groups and it's had an adverse impact on our organization in some way, shape, or form. So maybe we've created some new internal policies and mandates that says we have to engage them in some way and we have to get their buy-in and we want them to be involved in the process. So we need to prioritize them according to the organization's policies, mandates. There may also be legal and regulatory requirements for us to do so depending on our organization. So fair enough, let's do that. Let's come up with a way to do that. Keep in mind that the most successful engagement strategies require dialogue or some type of dialectic, a bi-directional communication to get people involved. So push communication, which is a very common communication form on projects to larger groups, is not a dialogue. It is not a bi-directional communication form. If we need people to be able to give us feedback, to be able to get engaged with us, and to be able to be part of the process, then we have to come up with a strategy that allows that somehow. Third, plan your engagement process. So identify the specific practices and techniques that you will use and manage throughout the project. So we're going to pick, for example, if you look at the life cycle of any project, at what point in the life cycle do we need to engage with our different community groups and stakeholders? We need to select the medium that we're using. Today we have a huge variety of ways, tools that are available to us to engage with people on all levels, with all of our social media tools, internal and external to the organization. Fair enough, we're going to put all these things together. We're going to map them out. They need to be relevant, they need to be timely, and they need to give people the right information at the right time to engage with us and to move the project forward. Fourthly, we want to make community engagement permanent. Now, what I'm suggesting here is that we go beyond simply planning engagement within the project, but that we encourage the organization to come up with a standardized approach to community engagement and actually make it a permanent thing. So just like if you think of other processes in organizations, we have change management, we have quality management, we have disaster recovery, we have all these other groups. And those groups have their own standard processes and policies and mandates that we have to adhere to whenever we run a project. The idea would be that we create a similar approach to community engagement, that we standardize it, that we put some policies and processes in place, and that whenever we run a project, we actually adhere to that engagement with community that's already there. So we basically kind of plug in for the life cycle of our project and then unplug at the end of our project. But the community engagement was there before the project, during the project, and continues after the project. So this is a bit of a challenge to the organization to think, if we really need that level of communication and engagement, maybe it needs to be standardized, and maybe we need to raise it to a new level.